Warning: this episode depicts serious mental health issues. If you need support with your mental health or are having suicidal thoughts, viewer discretion is advised. Tonight on America in Black.
And I had to go away and gather myself again because I felt lost. I felt lost in it all.
Taraji P. Henson is an Oscar-nominated actor, in-demand TV and film star. But despite this impressive resume, she admits to struggling with her mental health.
They're thinking, oh, well, you have money, so your problems just magically disappear.
Taraji opens up to BET special correspondent Ed Gordon about her passion and groundbreaking new initiative, providing mental health care to the Black youth who need help the most.
You have to find the will to love yourself, to want to survive.
And
would you characterize what we see, young Black suicide, as a crisis today?
Absolutely, Ed. It's certainly a crisis.
Ed Gordon also talks to families and teens on the front lines of the ongoing mental health emergency impacting Black youth.
And I just lost a friend to suicide, and I was just in this really dark place.
The signs you may be missing if you know a child that's struggling emotionally.
It's really freeing to know that we're not alone.
Plus,
you believe that for real?
Believe what?
All the stuff you were saying about God. Everything gonna be all right.
Hollywood super producer Will Packer and Grammy-nominated singer and actor Chloe Bailey join forces in their new gospel film, Praise This.
I see myself in this role, and it combines my love of God and music all in one.
CBS Morning's Saturday co-host Michelle Miller sits down with the stars to discuss their latest project and the film's message about keeping faith in turbulent times.
I wanted to make a movie for people that maybe have lost their way, like so many of us have.
Later,
we all got the same.
For Mother's Day, Roy Wood Jr. drops the mic on the matrons of Hollywood, TV moms. All this and more tonight on America in Black.
Welcome to another edition of America in Black. I'm Special Correspondent Ed Gordon, and thank you for joining us. We want to begin the show with a story about a Hollywood star who is doing her best work off-screen. Oscar-nominated actor Taraji P. Henson has appeared in a number of hit movies and television series, but perhaps most notably, she is using her celebrity to focus attention on the issue of mental health in Black communities. I recently spent time with Henson as she opened up about her own mental health struggles and unveiled a new initiative specifically aimed at supporting Black women.
She is an amazing woman. If you would please give a round of applause to the founder of the Boris Lawrence Henson Foundation, Taraji P. Henson. Hey, beautiful people. Hey.
Last month, award-winning actor Taraji P. Henson took to the campus of Alabama State University to kick off the She Care Wellness Pods initiative. It's the first step in what she believes will serve by extension the larger Black community. In particular, it will serve Black female students at HBCUs to help them deal with the stresses in life that have caused a mental health crisis in Black America. A week before she made her way to Alabama, we met in New York to talk about why she started her outreach with Black women.
Yay. We're taking care of women first. 84.4% of Black women are the breadwinners, co-breadwinners, sole breadwinners of the family. On top of all of that, the disparities we face, social injustice, number one, health disparities, and getting paid. Everywhere you go, we're paid less than anybody. It's the white man first, the white woman, the Black man, then us. So, how do you save a nation? How do you save the world? You save the women.
Millions see Henson as a confident, successful actor. From her award-winning portrayal of real-life hero Karen Johnson in Hidden Figures to her signature role as Cookie Lyon on Empire, her roles are often strong Black women.
There's no bathroom for me here.
What do you mean there's no bathroom for you here?
There is no bathroom. There are no colored bathrooms in this building or any building outside the West Campus, which is half a mile away. Did you know that?
She admits, in spite of that image, there are times when she had moments of doubt and trauma in her real life. In 2003, Taraji's childhood sweetheart and father of her son was fatally wounded in a fight. Their son was only 9 years old when his father was killed. And most recently, the actor said she needed to unplug from the pressures of stardom and life.
I hit a wall not too long ago, and I had to go away and gather myself again because I felt lost. I felt lost in it all. I was having my struggles and my son, trying to raise him, single mother, black male. How do I do this? I need help. Where do I go? I'm feeling some kind of way. How do I help my son maneuver through his stuff, right? And it was a struggle.
How have you equipped yourself to deal with trauma better than perhaps you were able to, beyond just aging, right?
Right.
If we get older, we hope we gain wisdom, but what else have you been able to learn?
You can't ignore it. You can't sweep it under the carpet. You have to deal with it. You have to be in it. You have to allow yourself to feel. Don't run away from it, lean into it, because that's where the healing is. When you run away from it, it's gonna catch up to you, and it may deal with you in a way that you can't handle because you weren't equipped, you never dealt with it.
In 2019, Henson testified before Congress, where she addressed the lack of mental health support for the African American community.
When it was time to look for someone who I felt I could trust and also my son could trust, it was like looking for a unicorn.
Her passion to deal with mental health is no vanity project. She learned the importance of a healthy mental state early on. Taraji named her foundation after her father, Boris Lawrence Henson. He was a Vietnam vet who struggled with mental health issues over the years.
Well, my dad wore his heart on his sleeve. I remember when he would get my friends together, he would tell them about how he tried to take his life by suicide. He put the gun up to his head, but for the grace of God, the bullet grazed his skull, and he would show you the scar. He didn't hide anything from me. He told me the truth about everything, and that's why I'm not afraid to live in my truth, because I saw it.
But I'm curious, during the pandemic, when you genuinely contemplated suicide, you said, people will look at you and say, you have the perfect life. Give people an understanding of why that is the wrong impression.
They're looking at the materialistic aspect of it all. They're thinking, oh, well, you have money, so your problems just magically disappear. And unfortunately, most times money will amplify your problems or give you problems you never even had before. There are times when I would sit on my house on the hill with 360-degree view of southern Los Angeles, and I'm like, God, I remember the days when I was so happy when I was broke, because I was able to dream. The dream kept me getting up every day, and now I have it all, and I feel empty inside. It's not about the things. It's who you are inside.
When I met Taraji and Tracy Jade, Henson's lifelong friend and the executive director of her foundation on the ASU campus, they wanted to make it clear that they take their mission very seriously, including how the actor talks about the issue of suicide and mental health. They understand that Henson's words carry weight and that celebrity ideation can sometimes inspire copyists.
Well, it's important that we handle these conversations with care. You never know what a person might be going through who's just listening to the conversation, whether they're at home watching us on television or they're in the room where these conversations are happening. It's so frequent now that our people in particular are having thoughts of suicide that when we talk about it, we just have to make sure that we are not sort of railing on it. We're trying to be as thoughtful as possible, which I thought you certainly were, but we don't know what they're receiving.
And it's triggering for a lot of people.
Yeah.
And then what you'll start to see is copycat situations, and they call it copycat suicide.
Yeah.
And I understand that the press has a job to do and you have to report these things, but again, like Tracy said, we have to be very careful how we're handling it. Yeah. Because when you're leaning in and the person who has overcome their situation and they're in the better place, like you said, somebody at home might be on the verge, and you don't want to be in a position where you're triggering them or pushing them.
Right.
So we just have to handle it with care, that's all.
And it's with care the foundation is taking on the mission to eradicate the stigma around mental health. that prevents many people of color from seeking help. The foundation, in partnership with Kate Spade New York, officially launched the She Care Wellness Pods in April of this year. The campus will house the She Care Wellness Pods, where female students can get free therapy, mindfulness training, yoga, and sound therapy, among other things.
Talk to me about what they become and, what they'll be.
Well, these are safe spaces for the students to come when they need to just decompress, when they need to unplug, and a safe space where they can feel protected, where they just can, shut out all the noise.
Appropriate care is often hard to come by. Though the African American community is 17% of the U.S. population, Black therapists and clinicians make up only 4% of the mental health workforce, creating a significant lack of access to sensitive providers who might better understand the cultural norms in Black communities.
Being raised with a religious background, you're kind of taught what goes on in the house stays in the house. Anything dealing with mental health, therapy, Jesus is your doctor.
Majesty Capehart is a graduating senior at Alabama State University. Over the years, her relationship with her mother, the need to always be the strong Black woman, and the rigors of school have taken a toll on her mentally. She believes this program will bring help and a much-needed outlet for those who have struggled in silence.
And how much do you believe that what Taraji is doing here, bringing, the wellness pods and giving people access to people to talk to, will help?
I think that what Ms. Henson is doing is amazing. In our community, the African American community, especially on a college campus, you're not really afforded. So we really just don't bother with thinking about therapy. It's like, well, this is just the pressures of Black excellence and being a prestigious student at the illustrious school that I'm at. It's starting a conversation. It's making a safe space where there was not always one.
When you leave this great institution, what legacy will you leave? How will you then reach back to help a community thrive?
Everybody's suffering. Everybody has a cross to bear. Know that you're not alone. You are not alone.
If you or someone you know needs support with their mental health or are having suicidal thoughts, help is available. Call 988 to speak to the National Suicide and Crisis Lifeline, or text HOME to 741-741 to message a crisis text line counselor at any time. To find a culturally competent therapist, visit BorisLHensonFoundation.org. Coming up next, sounding the alarm, the suicide crisis impacting our Black youth. Ed Gordon talks with experts, parents, and teens about the growing mental health crisis hidden in plain sight. And Hollywood super producer Will Packer and star Chloe Bailey sit down with Michelle Miller to discuss their new movie, Praise This. When America in Black continues in a moment.
Welcome back to America in Black. In our first story, we heard from Hollywood star Taraji P. Henson, who talked about what she's doing to address the unfolding mental health crisis impacting America's youth, specifically our Black youth. Numbers show there is an emerging crisis of suicide among Black children and teenagers, some as young as 5 years old. Experts are sounding an alarm about far too many of our youth fighting battles against anger, anxiety, and depression. The Lawsons were the personification of Hollywood's version of the idyllic American family. Successful parents, 2 intelligent kids, a dog, and a suburban house. But as they say, looks can be deceiving.
I ended up in a psych ward, just ordered there by the hospital. It was a really traumatic experience for me.
From the outside looking in, then 15-year-old Kyle seemed the perfect kid, a top scholar, popularity amongst his peers, and a promising swimming career. But inside, his emotional and mental state was crumbling.
I'm wondering if there's a time that you can pinpoint a moment when you felt like something wasn't quite right.
I would probably say around freshman year, I was still like the ace, like A+ student, like the perfect type of kid or whatever. Everything seemed to be going right, but like that was from more of my parents' perspective. For me, it was a lot of pressure. I was just depressed. Like I felt like it was very hopeless at that point, and I didn't have any skills to help me cope with those feelings.
Kyle first tried to take his own life his freshman year of high school. The attempt was a wake-up call for Kyle's parents, who had worked hard to create a life and opportunities for their two sons. Like many parents, they had no idea within the picture-perfect life they'd created for their children, there was turmoil and uncertainty raging in their eldest. By the time they learned how dire Kyle's struggle had been, depression, drug use, and a questionable crowd were winning the battle that Kyle's father knew all too well. Keith, an executive at BET, had grown up in inner-city Baltimore and had seen too many lost to drugs and mental health struggles. He had vowed his sons would not face those demons.
There's definitely a time where I felt like I'm losing grip. I mean, it was like my old life colliding with the life that I thought I had.
I've been running down the street after Kyle in my robe and slippers, trying to keep him from getting in cars with people we didn't know.
And things didn't get better. 2 years later, Kyle attempted suicide for a second time. This would be the continuation of a long journey to figuring out what was happening beneath the surface.
Was there a time, a period where you just couldn't see good in yourself?
I had just broken my arm, so I couldn't swim in the States. And I had just lost a friend to suicide, and I was just in this really dark place. At that time, I definitely used to blame my parents, probably still do. It was just like a lot of the pressure of them wanting me to be successful more than my feelings.
If you could have told your parents at the time, this is what I need, this is what will help me, what would that have been?
It would have been for them just to listen or give me a chance to explain what I was going through.
The Lawsons tried a number of things to stem Kyle's growing addiction and depression. Multiple therapists, rehabilitation programs, and even a strict wilderness survival camp. But they cite a change within themselves as the key to turning Kyle around.
I was listening from a space of, what do you have to complain about because your life is blah, 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 blah. Basically, we had to let the image of who we thought our child was die in order for this new person that we needed to accept to be born.
For me, it was, I don't think I listened to him just wanting to be a kid. He did not want to perform. He did not want the pressure. He just wanted to cuddle on the couch with mom and watch a movie and with dad.
Dr. Linda McGee, a clinical psychologist, travels the country, educating Black parents on mental health and how to recognize when a child is reaching out for help.
I treat teenagers. Oftentimes I have to talk to parents who are like, well, I'm just doing what everyone says. This is how you get to Princeton, and this is how you become the quarterback, is that you have to pressure kids. You tie it in with this notion that I don't want my child to be a statistic. I want them to be a success. And that would all be well and good as long as you stay focused on who your child is. You have a child in reality that's sitting across from you, and you have to see them, not the child that's in your dreams.
How much did you address mental health in the house or with yourselves or within yourself before all of this happened?
Well, I'll say one thing that, you know, as a Black man in America and growing up in the type of family that I did, there's always some family member that's dealing with something that we didn't discuss. Like, you know, that's just crazy Uncle Lamont. And you just sort of just deal with it. You don't talk to anybody about it.
Looking back, I wish I had said something, but I didn't. And then going through this process, definitely realized I have depression. I have to deal with that. And it's okay to say it out loud.
Out of the lessons learned through their own journey, the Lawsons have created an organization that provides a safe space for Black families to talk about mental health.
The Sunrise Project is really about rebirth and about opening up a space for compassion and healing and vulnerability. And through it, absolutely, I've healed so much. It's really freeing to know that we're not alone, number one, and to know that we are helping people.
One of those people is Addison Rose, a star student and youth rights advocate in Washington, D.C. She is also a survivor of multiple suicide attempts. The first, triggered by a sexual assault by a high school student. She shared her story publicly for the first time through the Sunrise Project.
I ended up being raped. I was only 13, and it was a huge, whoa, what just happened? That experience right there, that stemmed a lot.
Internalizing that experience led to a downward spiral that resulted in her first suicide attempt.
How long did it take for you to be able to say, yes, it happened and it continues to impact me?
I would honestly say that didn't happen until after I attempted suicide. So that night, I had taken a couple pills, and I'm gonna be completely honest, there were moments when I had the thought of, well, what if I just land myself in the hospital so it'll be a wake-up call to everyone around me? I don't necessarily wanna end my life, do I? But, I would appreciate help in this fight without having to say it myself.
While Addison credits her parents for being present, they weren't able to recognize the warning signs.
My parents would ask me a lot of times, are you okay? What is wrong with you? I'm like, no, I would make them feel like they're wrong and I'm just a teenager, so just respect that.
Dr. Michael Lindsay is the dean of NYU's Silver School of Social Work. He led the study for the Congressional Black Caucus Emergency Task Force on Black youth suicide in America.
Give me a sense of how difficult you see it is for parents to have to deal with what young people are looking to and looking for.
I've talked to parents who have unfortunately had a child die by suicide, and I'm really struck by the fact that these parents have said to me, I had no idea that my child was even thinking about suicide.
Would you characterize what we see, young Black suicide, as a crisis today?
It's certainly a crisis, and the numbers are telling us that it is. From 1991 through 2017, 73% increase in suicide attempts for Black youth. We looked at data from 2017 to 2019 and saw that the rate went from 73% to 144% increase in suicide attempts only for Black youth. That cycle of violence that we have seen in the news that have been perpetrated upon Black and brown individuals by law enforcement or vigilantes. And I think that has engendered a sense of hopelessness for kids. So I think coupled with those kinds of issues, lack of access to treatment, stigma, are the sort of competing reasons for why we are seeing the rates go up.
Dr. McGee advises parents on ways to be present and support their children.
First, to just acknowledge and examine themselves. Look at the stressors and the traumas that they've undergone and understanding that impacts their parenting. Number two is a lot of nurturing. Kids that are connected to their communities, their parents, their friends, are more likely to be less depressed, less anxious, and suffer from less mental illness. Giving your children the freedom and the autonomy to be able to express themselves in your home is very, very important. That children should be seen and not heard is a remnant of the past that frankly should stay there.
Despite the uncertainty on how to holistically address the crisis, there is promise that survivors like Kyle are finding a path forward.
Would it be fair to say that you are now hopeful?
Yeah, I'm definitely hopeful. I have good things that are coming.
Addison is now the youth mayor of D.C. and has turned her pain into power, using her story to inspire other young people in the community to speak up about mental health. Her next focus is a speaking tour in local public schools.
My hope is to touch children my age to understand that they have the power to reclaim their life in whatever way they see fit, but they have to want that in order to get to that promised land of positivity and happiness in their life.
If you or someone you know is struggling with their mental health or having suicidal thoughts, you are not alone and your life has value. Call 988 to speak to the National Suicide and Crisis Lifeline, or text HOME to 741-741 to message a crisis text line counselor at any time. To find a culturally competent therapist, visit BorisLHensonFoundation.org. Coming up next, Michelle Miller goes behind the scenes with actress Chloe Bailey and super producer Will Packer to discuss their new movie, Praise This.
There are 20-somethings out there that you aren't going to find in a church because they don't feel like it speaks to them.
When America in Black continues in a moment.
Welcome back to America in Black. I'm CBS Saturday morning co-host Michelle Miller. He is a powerhouse film producer who has carved his own lane in Hollywood by creating a slew of hit movies featuring many of today's biggest Black stars. She is a multi-talented Grammy-nominated singer, songwriter, and actor who is stepping into her first lead role on screen. Will Packer and Chloe Bailey are both artistic stars in their own right, and now they have teamed up in a new film that explores spirituality in the realm of gospel music and competitive praise teams. I recently sat down with each of them to discuss their impressive careers to date and the messages about faith contained in their new movie, Praise This.
You believe that for real?
Believe what?
All the stuff you were saying about God. Everything gonna be all right.
Honestly, I don't really know.
Featuring rapper Quavo and starring Chloe Bailey.
Keep my hands up to God, 'cause I'ma need right now. I need you, God.
Praise This is a new film about a youth choir competition in Atlanta. The faith-based film is just one of the latest projects developed by Hollywood super producer Will Packer.
Right up here, please.
Whose films such as Think Like a Man, Ride Along, and Girls Trip have grossed more than $1 billion to date at the box office.
Good. Thank you, my friend.
Not bad for a guy who started his film career far outside the industry mainstream.
So, Will Packer, you've done it all. I mean, CEO, blockbuster film, television, hits. What was the secret sauce?
I mean, when you say it like that, I'm like, wow, I have done a lot. You have to have a confidence, which I think I've always had. And I do attribute a lot of that to my upbringing in the church and also my HBCU rearing, honestly. It gives you a confidence. Because back when I was making my moves with all-black cast, that wasn't the thing to do.
And Will, one right here, sir.
Packer's path to becoming a star Hollywood producer certainly wasn't a straight line. He grew up in St. Petersburg, Florida, before graduating from Florida A&M with a degree in electrical engineering. At FAMU, he dabbled in film production, and after college, independently produced an erotic thriller.
It's a menage a trois.
I told you the last 49 times. I'm not with that, okay?
Pardon my going way back to Twa, but
That's all right.
I love that
I'll
you
take
started in Black erotica.
Yes, I did.
And you steered away from that at the insistence of your mom or suggestion?
It was a strong suggestion. You know, when mama suggests more than once, it ain't asking, right? So she said, boy, you grew up in the church, and I need to be able to take my missionary sisters, and I'm tired of taking them to see all these movies where people are getting freaky. I said, Mom, I got you. So I made a movie called The Gospel.
We were here with your father doing God's work.
And it was successful and helped to launch my career in a different way.
Yes, 1, 2, and 3. One more.
Packer's latest film, Praise This, streaming on Peacock, addresses a new generation that may be losing connection to the traditional conventions of the Black church.
As a people, our spirituality is something that has helped us to persevere through challenging times. I wanted to make a movie for people that are outside of that realm. People that maybe have lost their way, like so many of us have because of the time we're in, how rough it's been for the past few years, lost their faith, lost their spiritual connection.
Where'd you get your jacket from? Is it vintage? It's happening.
What's happening?
Us. I've always wanted
For the lead role of Sam, Packer chose rising star, singer, songwriter, and actress Chloe Bailey.
I see myself in this role, and it combines my love of God and music all in one. Will Packer's producing it, so I just couldn't say no.
Praise This may mark Chloe's first starring role in a film, but the 24-year-old is no stranger to the limelight.
Love is you. Love is you.
At
At the age of 16, she and her sister Hallie were discovered as a singing duo by Beyoncé, who signed the pair to her music label in 2015. The sister act, Chloe and Hallie, recorded 2 Grammy-nominated albums, while Chloe's first film role was in the 2003 gospel-themed film, The Fighting Temptations.
You want to be my girlfriend? Sorry.
Chloe would go on to be cast in other gospel-themed movies, including Joyful Noise with Queen Latifah and Disney's Let It Shine.
Do they feel familiar, or is it a different kind of movie that you've chosen for each period of your life?
Each one of those projects I was a part of, the story circled around love and God and music. It's so cool because that just shows how I was like inching my way more and more into praise this, if you think about it. So it's like the universe was almost like teasing me in a way as I'm like inching throughout the years, like, hey, this role's gonna come.
The role showcases Chloe's talent as both a singer and actor,
I know the Lord can see my potential. I've been working.
while exploring how gospel music can bridge the gap between today's younger generation and the traditional Black church.
You walk with me every day and you help me in every way. I'll meet you in heaven.
This is the nexus between old school and new school. What is happening out there in the world of gospel in a contemporary sense? Is there any judgment coming in on the secular move into gospel?
Yeah. I think there will be some traditionalists, some traditional church folks that will say, whew, you gonna put Drake over a gospel song or gospel lyrics over a Drake track and Meg the Stallion?
You went there.
I absolutely went there. I absolutely did it. Because those are the folks that you need to reach. There are 20-somethings out there that you aren't gonna find in a church because they don't feel like it speaks to them. But if I put it over a Meg the Stallion beat or a Beyonce beat, which I do, you got their attention. And while I have their attention, I want to talk to them about their faith and about finding their voice.
Are you okay? You seemed a little emotional singing out there.
Me? No. I've rocked bigger rooms than that before.
But praise songs hit people's heart a little different.
Well, let me let you in on a little secret. I don't really have a relationship with God. I just know how to rhyme.
Actress Crystal Renee Hazlett, star of Tyler Perry's Sisters and Zatima on BET, plays the role of Natalie in the movie. She says the film reflects the increasing intersection of popular and gospel music that rings true to her own church-going experience in Atlanta.
I love how the music is relatable. They bridge the gap between secular music and gospel music so that everyone feels welcomed. PD. Proud of you. Thank you so much. Because a lot of times I feel like you come to church and you feel like you don't fit in because you may be still in the world or trying to figure it out, trying to figure your faith walk out.
And during the pandemic, Chloe and her sister Hallie each took a leap of faith, walking out into solo careers that were met with controversy.
You know you go broke trying to handle me. Take it from someone who know how to handle me. I'ma need that real grown kind of energy.
In 2023, Chloe released her first solo album, In Pieces, and faced online criticism for exploring sexuality in her art.
My name is Chloe. Miss Belly if you nasty.
While at the same time, her sister Hallie has been subjected to hate after being cast as the African-American lead of the upcoming Disney movie, The Little Mermaid.
I look at what you and Hallie have been through, unfairly so, in so many respects, the criticism that's come your way. What has been your best line of defense? And is having a sister going through it at the same time help?
My best line of defense is just ignoring it. Like, to be honest, that's the least of my worries, what people have to say about me online. When I see it, of course, it's like, what?
Like, what are they saying? And why?
Yeah, they saying a lot. A lot doesn't make any sense and contradicts itself. But you'll just allow yourself to go around and around and around in a circle trying to wrap your mind around all of these opinions that don't really matter. And I just ignore it. And when I do, I'm completely fine.
As they continue to build on their impressive resumes, Bailey and Will Packer told me they have no plans of slowing down anytime soon. Chloe just finished a tour promoting her new album, and Will Packer says he will continue producing films his fans and his mom can be proud of.
For me, even in movies that I do now that are much bigger studio movies, not independent, I still start off thinking about who am I making this movie for? What do they want to see? I've never been somebody that said I want to make all things all people, but I want to be the thing for the people.
Coming up next, Roy Wood Jr. drops the mic on Mother's Day.
We love to think our mama is special, only to find out everybody else's mama does the same stuff. Hey, either you inside or you outside. You letting out my good app.
When America in Black continues in a moment.
I'm Roy Wood Jr. For Mother's Day, I want to ask you a question. Who do you think is the greatest black mama in history? I mean, I know your mama is the greatest mama, like my mama's the greatest mom. That's why I had to give her a shout out at the White House Correspondents' Dinner. I'm not about to be in trouble like that. My mother is here tonight. And to my mom, I say thank you for everything you've done for me. What I mean is, who do you think is the greatest black mama in entertainment history? We talking Aunt Viv, Nikki Parker, Sheryl Lee Ralph, and Moesha. Think on it for a second. We'll circle back. But first, can we just acknowledge how much the internet has shown us that we all got the same mama? We love to think our mama is special, only to find out everybody else's mama does the same stuff. Hey, either you inside or you outside. You letting out my good app. Boy, you better be home when that street light come on and get out my kitchen. Everybody knows when you spend the night at a friend's house on a Saturday, you gotta go to church with them on a Sunday if they got a church mama. And that's a dice roll. You got one of them homeboys that go to a church that's longer than your church, and their church might not even have the good food in the fellowship hall. Now, if you look at the evolution of the black mother on TV, we've come a long way from Florida Evans on Good Times to Claire Huxtable, all the way up to Rainbow Johnson on Blackish. Florida Evans held down the crib and tried as best she could to make her angry husband smile. Tracee Ellis Ross, on the other hand, represented the evolution of the black mom. She lived a life that Florida Evans could have only dreamed about. She was a woman with her own career, still made time for her family, but not at the expense of her own aspirations. Now, these three women are strong candidates for Best Black Mama in Entertainment, but they're not even top three. Number 3, Jo Marie Payton off Family Matters. Harriet Winslow was one of the most stressed out black mamas in the hit. Your son is stupid. Your husband is a Chicago cop. You don't know if he's coming home tonight. And then your next door neighbor is trying to have sex with your daughter. Harriet Winslow would have been justified pistol whipping Steve Urkel. Number 2 mama, greatest black mama of all time, Sissy Saint on Snowfall. I gotta give a shout out to Michael Hayat. She did the dang thing. And I'm not gonna spoil the final season. All I will say about Sissy Saint is that it takes a special kind of black mama to help her son sell cocaine and go to war against the CIA. I don't care how much you love Florida Evans. She ain't helping JJ sell a dime bag. Lastly, the best black mama of all time in the history of entertainment, Angela Bassett in Boys in the Hood. She dropped Cuba Gooding Jr. off at the beginning of the movie and peeled out of that thing. Didn't call to check on the boy. Hey, baby, how's everything with your daddy? I saw a dead body. All right, I'm going to the concert. I see you, click. Angela Bassett understood what she was supposed to be doing. Being a mom is the toughest job on earth, and the most important part of work is rest. And Angela Bassett rested the entire movie. So if you don't have money, you can still give your mother the gift of rest. Go buy the house. Go check on your mom, do a couple chores, let her kick back. And when you get in the house, make sure you close the door. You don't want to be letting out all the good air.
Next month on America in Black.
I'm going to take a journey with my family and closest friends to Ghana, Namibia, South Africa, and Tanzania.
Finding your roots at 50. Star Gabrielle Union travels to Africa with husband Dwayne Wade to celebrate a milestone birthday. She opens up to Nate Burleson about love, motherhood, and her journey of self-discovery. And renowned Harvard professor, author, and documentarian Henry Louis Gates Jr. sits down with James Brown to talk about the inspiration for his PBS genealogy show, Finding Your Roots, his legacy, and the debate over critical race theory in education. Plus, uncovering a troubling medical crisis threatening Black Americans across the country, and the leading doctor trying to stop it. Wesley Lowery investigates the rising number of amputations carried out on Black patients. All of that and more on the next episode of America in Black.